In today's video, I'm going to talk about how you should stop consuming and start creating, and how that is a great habit to replace a scrolling addiction. First, I'm going to discuss how scrolling is really just a form of consumption. Then we're going to find the opposite of that consumption, then get into what to create for you specifically, what you can do, talk about why this works so well, and finally answer some objections and reiterate how to start. First of all, who is this video for? It's for those people who have a lot of ambitions and a lot of goals in life and things that you want to do, but you believe that the thing holding you back is your low attention span, scrolling addiction, the fact that you can't put your phone down and get distracted quite often. That's who this video is for. My name is Charlie. I used to scroll for 6+ hours every day, and after a lot of work and a couple years, I have managed to overcome this problem. Now I help other young guys overcome their addictions and get their attention back. Today, I want to give you a great habit that I have found to do this, to replace the scrolling. And that is not an app blocker or a dopamine detox, although I am fond of those things. This is actually a replacement for the entire activity. Everything you scroll is a form of consumption. This is a symptom of a larger problem, which is specifically excessive consumption. Every form of it, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, pick your favorite doom scrolling app of choice. This all boils down to consumption. You're taking something in and you do not have to make any effort in return to get it. You're not putting anything back out there. That is the entire activity that we spend hours doing each and every day. And this is the problem with it. When you consume something that you enjoy, you do not walk away and stay satisfied indefinitely after that. You end up craving more, and you take in a little more and a little more and a little more, and then you end up needing to scroll a lot longer to get the enjoyment that you once had. That loop is gradually what creates the addiction that presumably you have now if you're watching this. It's also the thing that quietly makes everything else in life kind of feel boring by comparison, and nothing gives you that hit as fast or as easily as your phone does. So if we want to attack this, the thing that you're aiming at is not the scrolling specifically, that's just the form that it takes. We don't want to replace the scrolling with something equally useless. The problem itself is the endless, unlimited consumption. And to attack that, we want to find the opposite of consuming, which is where most people get stuck. When we try to quit scrolling, your brain will go looking for the opposite naturally. And when you think about it, what actually is the opposite of scrolling? What comes to mind? Unscrolling, doing nothing, doesn't really work. I don't have a clear definition for the opposite. That's why just stop scrolling never works. You're trying to fill that hole with doing nothing. Don't look for the opposite of scrolling. Like I said, it's just a symptom. We want to look deeper into the root problem, which is consumption. And the opposite of consumption, creating. We want to make a switch to creator mode, and at any given moment, you're in one of two modes, either consumer mode or creator mode. Now naturally, consumer mode is when you are intaking things, you're watching things, you're reading, or of course, scrolling. Creator mode, on the other hand, is when you are putting something out, when you're building something, writing something, producing anything that did not exist before you sat down and started. Your phone is a machine specifically engineered to keep you stuck in consumer mode for as much time each day as it possibly can. The fix for that is not to fight consumer mode with willpower, it is to spend more of the day in creator mode instead. So remember those terms once you have them in your head. It'll be a lot easier to recognize when you are, in fact, in consumer mode, getting distracted. We want to combat being distracted entirely, not just scrolling specifically. So anything taking your attention that you do not intend to take your attention, you need to note that down and recognize that that is you being in consumer mode. So do not just replace your phone, like I said, with something equally useless. Now, what exactly should you create? It is totally up to you. I don't know you specifically, but I want to widen this definition because as soon as I say create, you might start making an excuse like, I'm not a creative person, or I have no idea what to do, I have nothing to post, it'll be embarrassing. All of these are copes to make you not do it. And I want to handle that objection. Creating does not mean that you have to go and post on YouTube or TikTok and become an influencer. It does not mean you need a camera or any specific niche or anything really profound or unique to say on the internet. Creating just means producing something, anything, digital or physical, that wasn't there before you started. Now, this is a very broad definition, as you can tell, and it could apply to many, many different things, such as making content like this. If you do have something you want to say, that's great. If you want to learn videos, video editing, that's another benefit of it. Writing, if you want to write a blog or a journal, something you're either passionate about, again, or just know a lot about, that's another great route. Learning any skill and making things with it, coding, a little dead now, but making music, making art, learning to cook, or even starting a business if you always have wanted to do that, even just a tiny one, totally fine. All of these are taking the initiative and creating something that wasn't there before. If content is your thing, that's awesome because you're actually making the stuff that you used to scroll past instead of watching it all day. There's nothing in your life you want to share with the internet. That's totally understandable if you're more of a private person. It doesn't change the point that you ought to be creating. Obviously, don't do any stupid content. We're not here to make a meme page like the one you used to scroll on. Be reasonable and create something productive. What you do, though, does not matter as much as the fact that you are creating instead of consuming. We're shifting that mode. Creating has a lot more benefits that I am going to get into. In my case, I record these YouTube videos as well as on a side business I have a bunch of other photo and video content. That is how I express and enter my creator mode. The effect that it has on the rest of my day is actually bigger than you would expect. I have a video to make. Whenever that happens, I'm automatically more disciplined because I know that that is a new thing to add to my list of stuff to complete for the day. I'm not sitting around bored or unsure what to do, which honestly is the exact state that led me to start scrolling in the first place, when I didn't know what to do or that I had something and really didn't want to do it. Making YouTube videos, additionally, is a way for me to put my own opinions out in the world, to show people what I believe and that I have learned from all of my mistakes and all my hours and years spent scrolling myself. And instead of sitting there taking the beliefs of other people, I can take my beliefs and hopefully teach others something about my experience. Why this works? I'm going to explain why creating works against scrolling specifically, because it is not just trying to pass the time and doing something else to arbitrarily stay busy. We don't, like I said, just want to replace the time for the sake of it. One of the biggest reasons that scrolling is so addictive is because it's totally passive, and by that I mean it takes no effort at all, no physical effort. All you're doing when you scroll is reacting to whatever the phone decides to show you. You don't really have control over the algorithm, over specifically what it shows you next. You're not choosing or steering, you are just responding. Again, let's take the symptom and go look at the root problem, which is that you are reacting to life and consuming life instead of taking matters into your hands and directing it and creating something from it. You have no control over what comes next. And on top of that, this is quite an easy thing to fall into these days. It just takes a couple seconds to sit down and open your phone and open your app, and then, as we know, the time starts flying. I want to give you an analogy briefly. Scrolling all day is like being a passenger in a car, but never going and getting your driver's license. It's like being how you were as a kid when your parents had to drive you everywhere. Someone else picked the destination and they were driving, and you're just sitting in the seat watching the scenery go by, going wherever, metaphorically, the algorithm decides to take you. And this ride is very easy, and it doesn't take any effort from you. You're not the one steering the car. But creating is like going and being the driver and going to the destination that you want to. You decide the turns, but you have to focus on the road now. You have to take more effort, obviously, to be attentive and drive the car and not crash. But you're actually going somewhere that you chose instead of being driven around for 6 hours and then wondering where your entire day went. Creating flips your brain from being the passenger into being the driver, and you can have a lot more control over the direction that you're going to go in life when you are in this mode. I will say, breaking a phone addiction and a scrolling addiction is not just as easy as going to the DMV and getting your driver's license. Obviously, the addiction of the phone is real. It specifically has been engineered that way, and there are very smart people, engineers, whose entire job is making the phones in consumer mode as sticky, as addictive as possible. So I'm not going to pretend that breaking the scrolling is a lot easier to walk away from, but I will say nobody is going to grab the steering wheel for you. That part is entirely on you. but as you know, it's completely within your power. And the moment that you start creating something, your brain will shift and you will feel the difference from consumer mode instantly. The days are more satisfying when you spend them putting something that you want to say or want to make out into the world instead of watching other people do it. Here's what takes this from another way to pass the time to something that you should obviously be doing. This goes back to what I said at the very start of the video about you having ambitions and goals, which I assume you have quite a few of. Think about any goal that you have, any category. Ask yourself, does completing this goal require consuming or creating? Every single time it will be creating. Every meaningful goal in the world lives on the create side. If we had a line, the goals would be on the creator half of it. Of course, you have to consume some content to learn a skill, but accomplishing the goal, the action, is all on the creator side, not the sitting around consuming. For example, if I want to get monetized on YouTube, I do not get there by watching other YouTube strategists say the best way to grow. I get there by filming these videos and posting them, and hopefully having enough to say, having something productive to say, and saying it well enough that people get value from these videos and repeatedly watch me and subscribe to me. If you have a fitness goal, like a 5-minute mile or a 225 bench, for example, you don't get it by watching fitness content, best form. You get it by going and training and creating a body that is capable of doing it. If you want a business, a profitable business, you get there by creating value enough that people choose to buy from you. You do not get it by going and watching Alex Hormozi best business tips and doing that every day for years but never starting one. Every one of those is the opposite of scrolling. Specifically, it is the opposite of consumption. Every one of them requires intentional action instead of passively intaking content. I do want to go a bit further into this and talk about the over-consuming trap. And you could take any goal that you have and watch influencers in that niche all day, every day, for a year, for example, and you will not change it all if you do not go up and actually go and put in the work on your own. It's like being a spectator in the stands for the rest of your life. You can watch all the games being played and know all the stats and understand the ins and outs of the game, and you're never going to be an athlete if you do that, because watching it and playing it are two fundamentally opposite activities. Consuming information about a goal, it does feel productive because I've been there many, many times. It moves you, however, 0 inches toward whatever your goal actually is. Only creating is what is going to move you closer to the goal. Creating is not just a way to stop scrolling. It is the same habit that is required for every goal that you already have. You fix the addiction, and at the same time, you build a habit that moves you toward your ambitions. That is why it is something you should obviously be doing. Obviously, if you are trying to learn a new skill, at times you are going to have to watch content to learn how to do it. I mean, you watching me right now, me making these, is intended for your consumption. That would be a little hypocritical of me to totally vilify all forms of consumption. I don't mean to do that at all. I do like learning, and I do think everybody should cultivate that. I do personally read quite a bit, and I will watch YouTubes of stuff that I want to learn, absolutely. Problem though is when consumption replaces the action and feels productive, but it does not actually get you closer to your goal. At a certain point, you have to learn through the experience of doing, not just watching others do it. For example, if starting a business, many people will post videos, or watch videos, I should say, about stuff the person wished they had known sooner in their business journey. But if you just watch these videos endlessly, they're not going to make you any money because you're not actually going out and starting a business. And that's your prerogative to go out and start, and that is what is going to help you achieve the goal, not just watching endless content about how to start. Just wanted to clarify that. And now let's get into some objections and some thoughts that you may be having right now, because all of these here I have definitely thought in the past. Is it making content just more screen time and I would still be on my phone? That is true. The device is the same, but the effect that it has on your brain is totally the opposite. Consuming is reacting, effortless, the algorithm is in control, and when you flip that around and start creating, you're the one deciding and putting in that intentional effort. You are metaphorically in the driver's seat. Same screen, same device, but the opposite direction, both in life and in the brain. So don't associate screen time, the pure number, with being inherently evil. I'm sure there's a lot of billionaires that are on their phone all day. It's how you use that screen time. Also, creating something naturally has a finish line. You complete the video or the piece of writing and you can turn off the phone. Scrolling apps, as you may have noticed, never actually have an ending or a bottom of the feed. It never says you've reached the end of your reels. It lets you keep going indefinitely. That difference matters a lot more than the screen time itself does, than the number. What if I make something and no one watches it, or it flops, or I'm embarrassed? Then it still worked to reduce your scrolling time, and it still activated that creator mode side of your brain, even if it didn't have tons of monetary or status success on your life. If you go scroll through my channel, I actually have a lot of videos that nobody has watched. The views are definitely good, don't get me wrong, that is a goal of mine, but that's not the only win here. The win is that during that time, you were in creator mode instead of consumer mode. Your mind was active instead of passive, and you also built a skill during that time that you did not have before, no matter how small it is. The audience that you get is a bonus on top of that. The internal shift is what I want you to accomplish with this video, not that. And that one happens whether or not a single person ever sees the thing that you produce. I don't have time to create. I mean, if you had 6 hours to scroll, if you had all that time, then you absolutely do. All you have to do is use the time better, quite frankly. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And I don't say that to be rude or anything. It's actually incredibly freeing to realize how much time already exists that you can put toward your goals by just not scrolling on your phone after work in the evening, for example. It's just all allocated to consuming and scrolling right now. You have a lot more time, I guarantee, than you would think. You're not trying to find new hours in the day, not asking you to reduce your sleep or something like that. You're moving hours that you already have from consumer mode to creator mode. How to start? Here is your action step if you want to do this, if you want to stop scrolling. Find an activity, for you specifically, whichever one you enjoy or you know a lot about, that flips your brain from consuming to creating, and start doing that today. The moment that you normally would allocate to scrolling, just start doing that instead. I want you to start small. A mistake I've made in the past is trying to launch a huge project on day one and burning out and quitting within the first week and going back to scrolling. I want you to avoid that. So it is okay at first to keep the bar low. All you're asking yourself at the end of the day is the question, did I create something today or did I only consume? Every day, at the very least, as often as possible, you want the answer to be, I created something and I spent my time doing that when I wanted to, instead of consuming and letting the algorithm control my day and letting the addiction control my day. That is it, really. That is how you start. And the thing itself, whatever you choose, doesn't have to be huge. You can, for example, write 500 words about a topic that you know a lot about or that you're quite passionate about, and then you could post it on a blog, like a Substack, something like that. You could film and edit a video, even if it gets like 3 views on YouTube. That's not the point. You can cook a meal from scratch, learn that skill instead of ordering food, or build or make one thing, whatever you want to do. Just get 1 point in the create column and then let it grow from there, because once you get into this mode, it naturally will. When you start doing stuff like this, you're going to want to keep going, especially if you're making content and you have a lot of concrete numbers like your views and subscribers and retention and stuff. Naturally, you will start getting momentum and that will build up in your brain. Scrolling makes you entirely passive. It puts you at the mercy of the algorithm and you are just reacting to whatever the algorithm decides to feed you, watching your life scroll by from the passenger seat. That is consumer mode, and your phone is happily going to keep you. That is what it's designed for. As long as you let it keep you there, it absolutely will. Creating flips that entire thing. It makes your mind and your body active, puts you back in the driver's seat, in control of what you're doing. And it also happens to be the same habit that every goal that you've ever had is built off of. So it's a very good thing to cultivate. You do not stop scrolling by consuming less and only using sheer willpower. Instead, you create enough that the empty space in your brain that makes you scroll before fills itself with something actually productive and that you actually chose and want to do. Pick something today, make content, start a business, learn a skill, start writing, start cooking, do anything. Get out of the passenger seat, grab the steering wheel, stop letting the algorithm scroll your life away from you. Go out and accomplish those goals and ambitions that I'm sure you've had for a long time. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to experience similar content. Goodbye.